Welcome to BizTech's Technology Show, the show where we feature tech companies across Asia talking about their solutions and how they make a difference in their customers' businesses. Today, we speak to Dr. Mark van Stalden, founder and managing director of Seaflow Cyber Strategies, and Professor Lam Kwong Yang, the founder of Tao Express. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Now, Mark Kwong Yang, before we start, could you please tell us a little bit about your respective companies and what you do? Starting with you, Kwong Yang.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Basically, Tao Express was started as a spin-off of University Research Center. So 3 years ago, we have a collaboration with the government agencies as part of the Smart Nation research projects to apply the document analytics or AI techniques to automatically process court documents. So as a result of this project, we have developed a suite of AI engines to automatically process documents or to perform document-based analytics. So with the successful completion of the project, we were encouraged to start a technology spin-off from our research projects, and that's how we created the Tao Express, specializing in AI-enabled techniques for analyzing documents, which could be used for intelligence and business intelligence, market intelligence, or as well as for cybersecurity.
Okay, thanks for that, Kwok Yen. Could you, Mark, give us an overview of Seaflow?
Yes. So good afternoon. My name is Mark Fostalde, Managing Director of Seaflow Cyber Strategies. Our company is established early 2020, kind of as a spin-off of a Dutch research institute, for which I've been expatriated to Singapore for 4 years. And after this very entrepreneurial experience, I decided to set up my own company, and which became Seaflow Cyber Strategies. We are operating internationally, focusing on law enforcement, cybersecurity agency, finance, and with a strong focus on dark web and virtual assets intelligence.
Now, how did both of you get together in terms of your companies?
Yes, well, I think we met in 2017 as part of a joint project we were doing with the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore. And thereafter, we started to build our relation, which continued, well, actually till today. As Roland mentioned, in the meantime, he started also Tao Express, we started Seaflow, and we work very closely together with different agencies in Singapore, but also internationally, for example, with Interpol.
Okay, Kwok Yen, what were the key factors that encouraged you to collaborate with Seaflow?
Well, basically, as Mark mentioned, we have started collaborating about 4 years ago. And even though we're working in the same space, but we have different expertise addressing different segments or different particular problem in the same address space. So we saw a lot of synergies, and we can help complement each other. So, for example, in the case of the projects that we are currently working with together, Mark focus on the blockchain analytics and the dark web monitoring. Whereas for us, our intelligence analytics can help provide richer body of information for the users to assess the operational risk and also to have a better understanding about the landscapes with regards to certain fintech transactions. So that's why we see the synergy there.
Okay, Mark, at this point, I've got to ask you, you worked for Interpol, and this question now is really relevant because that's top of mind for a lot of people. That issue of cyber crime in the Asian digital economy. Could you give your perspectives in terms of some of the main types of crimes involved, and who is involved in this, and give us some insights into this world that we know very little about?
Yes, well, thanks for the question. First of all, it has been a fantastic experience to work in Interpol and to work with all the member countries that are involved in Interpol. And I think from a cybercrime perspective, this is crucial because the internet has no borders. And as a result of this technology and this technological characteristic of a borderless internet, we have to work together. Cyber criminals don't stop at the border of Singapore, of Asia, or Europe, or the Netherlands. They work closely together from many different countries, conducting attacks, having certain ransomware campaigns, for example, business email compromise or CEO fraud, which is a very prominent development we see nowadays. But most of them, they're not Asia specific. They are going all around the world. I think all over the world, everybody has their ransomware concerns nowadays.
Okay, so ransomware is obviously something that many of us are very familiar with now because it's been happening more and more regularly, and it's also being reported more regularly. It used to be kept very much under the carpets and under the surface. People were paying ransoms, but then that's now bubbled up to the surface. But could you give us some other examples of cybercrime that's taking place around the world?
Yes, well, so my deep expertise is on the dark website, which is a big facilitator of many cyber crimes. And what we do see a lot is illegal trade in any illegal good, even from drugs, weapons, into, for example, child sexual abuse material, where we do see also many different ways of working coming into place nowadays. So you can think about live streaming, for example, where Southeast Asia is known for let's say, production, for different production sites, which are terrible crimes we are really on top of and trying to fight as hard as possible.
Okay, could you help us, and maybe Kwok Yan, you can start by doing that, and Mark, you could add to that, really give the average corporate person an insight into what the dark web is all about.
Okay, maybe I start with further elaborating on your questions on the cybercrime. So basically, we are looking at two types of cybercrimes, and people usually get them confused. So one type is what we call the cyber-enabled crime. That is, whether you have the internet or not, whether you have the cyberspace or not, the crime still exists, like the traditional fraud or things that is organized using the cyberspace. So that is the cyber-enabled crime. The other is what we call the cyber-dependent crime. That is, without the internet, without the cyberspace, the crime will not exist. So, for example, hacking, attack. So these are really, without the internet, without the cyberspace, you won't have this type of crime. So these are two different things. So with the dark web, for example, we're monitoring all sorts of activities, or criminal activities, or what we call illicit activities that is performed or visible in the dark internet. So basically, it could be selling of payment information which were stolen through some data breach. So, and in this case, the selling of the data is just of some illegal or some stolen items is basically financial crime, because at the end they want to turn into monetary proceeds. But the threat actors, the hackers who before they sell things in the dark web, they obtained the illegally obtained data through cyber attack. That is the cyber crime.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the value of the dark web is we're able to monitor or Mark's solution is able to monitor all sorts of illegal activities being carried out in the dark web. And to us, from the angle of the cybercrime, we're actually looking at the last leg of the cybercrime, that is how to turn that into monetary value. I mean, after, as I mentioned, after the ransomware, after the cyber attack, data are stolen, how to, and even if they have all this information, they need to sell to someone in order to...
and they use, obviously now, they don't go through the normal currency flows. Today, they have cryptocurrency to basically facilitate their crimes.
Correct. So that is the point. So that is usually, if you look at this as 3 steps, one is the illegal activity itself, the criminal activities, and then is to turn it into monetary value. And like what you say, now they use the cryptocurrency or virtual assets to do this intermediary conversion. But eventually, if they want to use it to use or to consume in the real world, they still need to convert into fiat, convert into money in the bank account. And this is the risk exposure to traditional financial institutions, because if they just convert the cryptocurrency, they won't know where the cryptocurrency came from. So what Mark has been doing is Mark can help monitor, if let's say given someone who wants to convert the cryptocurrency into physical real world money, Mark's tool will be able to at least monitor whether the cryptocurrency came from certain illegal transactions in the dark web. And then what Tau Express can do is to look beyond the dark web and go to the traditional internet, the cyberspace, to look at whether there's any additional information, any hint about those illegal transactions. Because, as mentioned, the first step is still the traditional criminal activities. So that's why we are trying to put things together and to help whether it's financial institutions or people who do transactions on the internet or using cryptocurrencies to have a better idea of their exposure.
Okay, Mark, I want to ask you, in your time, because your solution obviously helps to track down these bad guys, these cyber criminals, could you give us some insights into success stories and successful prosecutions of cyber criminals when you were at Interpol?
Well, I think there are quite a few big operations that have taken place in the recent past. I think so, although it was mainly with Europol involvement, but yesterday there was a great report on arrest of 150 suspects, and they seized about $31 million US, all dark web illegal activity suspects in about 10 countries in an international operation. And the operation was called Dark Hunter, or Dark Hunt Tor, which is referring to Tor, the dark web technology provider. And this is really a great success. And every year or every few months, we have a few of those very, very important successful police operations that take place worldwide. The only thing is, and that's also what Prof. Lam addressed, in the end, it's not possible for police to arrest all the criminals. So we should make their lives much more difficult to add risk scores to cryptocurrency transactions, such that also financial processors or financial institutes won't accept these transactions anymore, and make cybercrime not profitable. And if there is no money to make, well, then usually they will go for another job. So that is really what our higher ambitions are, really trying to stimulate all new technologies, even Tor, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. These are fantastic and beautiful technologies, but we are really trying to clear it up and fight the crimes that abuse these technologies for their illicit purposes.
Okay. I want to ask you guys about the state of trust in the digital economy in the region. What are the current technologies that are being utilized to really safeguard consumers in the digital economy?
Well, in the end, encryption is key. And encryption is the basic technology that is used to well, to build cryptocurrencies, to build a darker, but for example, also in WhatsApp, all your messages are encrypted, communicated. So that facilitates a lot of digital trust. But we need to build up many, many more technical mechanisms with also a user design perspective. Because what we do see nowadays, for example, in your traditional financial transactions, it can be really, really complicated to make the transaction because of security measures. So what do people do? They find workarounds, which creates many more insecurities than we could ever think about. So also very important here is develop security measures that are very easy and good to use.
Now, Kwok Yan, could you talk to us about Project Bianco and how it will help to promote trusted transactions in the digital economy?
Okay, like what Mark mentioned earlier, there's lots of other type of trust technologies, including encryptions, privacy preservations, and things like that, or even blockchain for decentralization. But another angle to look at it is like traditional cybersecurity. You have protection or prevention measure, you have detection measures. Okay, so with this Project Bianco, what we're looking at is, even though we have all these trust technologies to give people the assurance or confidence of trusted transactions, but on the other hand, we also want to create an environment where people can gather information about people who committed fraudulent transactions before, how to assess their reputations. So this, in some sense, can help discourage people from committing fraudulent transactions, because if they have done anything, it will be exposed, and then in future, it will affect their ability to do transactions with others. So this is one way of looking at this as a way to enhance or establish trust in the cyberspace or in the digital economy.
Okay, and where would this be deployed? Would it be deployed at a governmental level or at enterprise level?
I mean, Mark may have a different answer, but my view is we prefer to make it as a kind of a service for supporting users who have the need to assess whether, when they do some financial transactions, whether they're transacting with a reputable person or at least someone who have some footprint about bad records in the past.
Mark, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I think we are quite aligned in this perspective. The key is to develop this service and make it available to those who need it. And if I look at the landscape, that's not only law enforcement, and it's not only a cybersecurity agency. This is very, very much also financial sector, fintech, that really need to step up and take their responsibility as well.
Gentlemen, I've got a question in terms of the whole Asian landscape now. And obviously, Singapore is probably in Southeast Asia at the top end of the spectrum in terms of cybersecurity readiness and so forth. But from an overall perspective in the region, where are we at vis-a-vis the rest of the world?
Yes, well, I think, so from my perspective, I've lived about 4 years in Singapore, so from 2016 to 2019, so still a bit of a recent view on Singapore, Southeast Asia and Europe. Singapore is very well at similar level as Europe. I do think on some aspects a bit ahead, on some aspects probably a little bit behind, but also in Europe we have big differences. But I very much believe on cybersecurity and also on the combat against cybercrime, which usually takes place from the police forces. Singapore is on the top of the world. To add on this, given what I mentioned before, it's not only if it would be a Singapore matter, you would be ready, but the region really need to catch up as well, because that is where we do see most of the risk is coming from. It's not a cyber criminal attacking Singapore from Singapore. That is not being the case. The threat comes from outside. So it's very, very important also to increase capacity and quality in the region a lot. And there is a lot of work to do.
Professor Lam, your thoughts on this?
Well, I fully agree with Mark's assessment. In fact, 3-4 months ago, I read a report about cybersecurity landscapes in Asia Pac. And like what you mentioned, Singapore really ranked #1 in terms of preparedness. But there's also at the same time, due to the connectivity of Singapore, we also rank #1 in terms of exposure because of our openness of the network, of the computerization. Everything is well connected. So our exposure is also high, but our preparedness is high. And so in our collaboration, because now Mark is based in Europe, so at least our assessment is we are still in a very strong positions in putting together the latest technologies to solve a problem given the type of environment we are in. As mentioned, you will be able to test the latest technologies against whether it's cyber crimes or financial crime or cyber-enabled financial crime when you are in a very exposed environment. So that's why I think we are fortunate to be in these situations that we have an environment that we can see a lot of things that's happening. And on the other hand, we also have the advantage of exposure or the availability of all these latest capabilities in technologies to put things together to solve some real world problem that is emerging and is growing very rapidly.
Now, Professor Lam, on the other side of the equation, since many countries in the region are behind the curve, what are quick wins that governments and regulators and financial institutions can do regionally? And it's everywhere from Malaysia to Thailand to Indonesia to get their cybersecurity readiness to a higher level.
Okay, first is the availability of those measures, or we call the cybersecurity measures, the availability of the measures in forms of some affordable tools. So this is also something that we aim to do. That's why we will try to work together to make this a tool that is useful for people to elevate their cybersecurity capacity or capabilities. And we also try to make it more affordable so that it can be adopted and deployed faster. And this is from the angle of this regions, and maybe Mark can give his view about in Europe and how to work together to make it, because cyberspace has no border. So it's important that we work together to cover different regions. So
Mark, your thoughts, Mark?
Yes, well, as mentioned, capacity building is really key. So countries who does not have their cyber preparedness through CERT, through SOC, through CCERT, all sorts of measures that are well known nowadays, how to do it. That's not in place. Yeah, speed up, make decision, put the funding there, put people there to build up cyber capacity. It's urgent, and we do see it happening in many of the countries when they do not have their cyber protections in place, where airports are attacked, financial sector is attacked, with all the consequences we do see. I think what is important as a next step, and where we should really focus on for the next few years, is 100% protection doesn't exist. Although we hope it would exist, let's be honest, we do know it doesn't exist. So are you resilient? Are you ready after an attack to be operational in an hour? Or is it really like what happened in the US with the Colonial Pipeline? We don't have oil for a week. This really cannot happen because we know everybody is vulnerable and can be attacked. And last week I was speaking on the stage. I'm in this space for more than 10 years, but I'm quite sure somebody can social engineer me. If you look on me, what I'm doing, it's possible. So I do believe and it's not my fault. That's because the cyber criminals are so smart.
Yeah.
And we should be better prepared. And we should also think not only in terms of protection, but also in terms of resiliency. In case of an attack, are we able to be operational again in an hour?
Now, gentlemen, any final thoughts that you would like to leave us with before we end this very informative conversation? Mark, you want to go ahead first and then followed by you, Professor Lam?
Well, of course, we do see a lot of crime, and honestly, it fascinates me also a little bit. Like what kind of business models, what kind of concepts cyber criminals are building. And I'm really happy to be in this space from a, let's say, positive side to fight it and to build better protections. But it's key to address, and I already mentioned it, the technologies that the criminals are using, there is not the problem. The problem, because these technologies, we use it for many, many different purposes. The problem is how they are using the technologies. So it's also a big human factor or criminal factor that is in there, how technology is used. And I really would like to focus also more on that aspect instead of saying this technology is wrong. Like, for example, cryptocurrencies, it can have quite a bad name. But in the end, it's a beautiful technology which creates a lot of opportunities for innovation. And we are very keen on making innovation possible by fighting the crime.
Professor Lam, your final thoughts?
Well, as mentioned, we are dealing with a rapidly emerging problem. I mean, when people are putting so much emphasis on fintech, and with the development of virtual asset, and also with the growth of the digital economy that people expect. So we're going to see a lot more activities being performed electronically online. And like what Mark mentioned, we won't be able to eliminate all the fraudulent activities, especially with all this cyberspace availability. It becomes a lot more difficult to track down the threat actors. So we are hoping that we play our parts to apply the latest technologies and with our understanding, our previous experience in cybersecurity and law enforcement, to try to come up with something that is useful, really address a pain point of the fintech industries. And we also try to make it convenient for user to use, as I mentioned, as a tool, and make it affordable so that we can promote not only the awareness of the problem, because we don't want people to know about the problem after they suffer.
Yes, so it should be before and do the prevention.
Yes, we want to promote the awareness of this, but the thing is, when people are aware, then the next immediate question is then what to do, how to solve it, so that we can also offer an answer to it as well. So that's what we are hoping to play a part in making a trusted digital economy.
Now, gentlemen, it's been a fascinating and educational conversation. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Dr. Mark Fostalde, founder and managing director of Seaflow Cyber Strategies, and Professor Lam Kwok Yan, the founder of Tower Express, on BizTech's Technology Show. This video will be on our various social media platforms as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.